Amanda and I grew up watching a lot of the same shows, but there are a few differences here and there, and one of the best ones that she introduced me to is Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's The Lost World, which ran from 1999 till 2002, went on for 3 seasons. We have the original DVD box sets because this cult classic has returned to DVD. It's always exciting when one of these shows comes back and gets a reprint. Not that long ago, shows like Mutant X and Beastmaster came back. A lot of shows like this that seemingly were lost to time, had a small but devoted fan base, have been making their way back out, being reprinted as older editions have been getting harder and harder to find over the years, and some cases going up in price. One that comes to mind is Alien Nation. The series isn't very expensive, but the movies, the TV movies, have never been reprinted. The Lost World, fantastic series. It takes the classic Sir Arthur Conan Doyle story and does it in a fashion that was popular at the time, a very Hercules and Xena feel, or Beastmaster. So many shows from that era that had a very similar vibe to them, and this is one of my favorite ones. I was really excited when Amanda showed this to me. I can't believe it's one of those that just somehow passed me by. These original DVD releases that have long been out of print. These are the US releases, and they've been out of print, and also the corresponding releases in other regions for a long time, and certain ones have gone up in price over the years and have become harder to find, especially if you're looking for them new. Forget about it, or you're spending a lot of money, considering, for a few seasons of a TV show. It was a great show with a lot of action, a lot of comedy, and a fantastic cast that really did a really good job, a mix of Australian, New Zealand, and Canadian actors primarily, which was also a common mix at the time, going with the Xena and Hercules vibe as well. And this is just one of those shows that ended unceremoniously on a cliffhanger, a really cool cliffhanger. So if you've never seen this before, going in knowing that it started off with 2 different versions of the pilot, and then we go through 3 seasons, and it builds up. Not is it just a fun adventure series, but it starts to build and craft a mythology to its world over the course of these series, and really starts to take off into that. Really, it gets to the point of revealing what would have been revealed, lots of mysteries in a 4th season. And not watching it at the time, just going off of, Amanda was super active at the time, even online in fan bases and things, and they were going to get a 4th season. They even had funding. I mean, it was ready to go, and then things were delayed, and then it fell through and just vanished. And as a series, I don't even hear people talking about it anymore, but it's really fun, great to get into. And Amanda was even part of an effort before these DVD releases were even going to exist, an effort to try and get the best quality VHS copies, people from all over the world trying to find their best VHS copies of episodes as they aired, to try and combine and compile, the best version. And then eventually that was not needed because these came out, but over the years again, they've gone out of print. And finally, though, just this month, just last week, they re-released, under a different company, the entire series in one box set. The original sets were from Image Entertainment and had these individual cases for each disc. It's a really good set, pretty high quality, lacking in extra features overall, but it's a great way to watch the show, and really good release. Then we get this, which all 3 seasons, it's about the same size, just one season box set. And it was only $30 to pre-order and ship this on Amazon for the entire series. Getting a used copy of one of the seasons, you're lucky to get it for $30. So the whole thing brand new, comes each season in this individual case here. Look at the artwork, and you'll see the sideways T-Rex here, and a couple of other oddball things in the pictures, including, see, the image quality is not that great on some of them, and there is a character, without spoiling anything, that is not a main character in the beginning of the series, who she makes her way onto a lot of the images because, again, like the Stargate SG-1 Blu-ray set, wasn't really released by a company that, had a lot invested in the fandom of the release, just kind of getting a copy out there. But it's at least cool that companies, especially smaller companies, this one, what is this one? Film Chest Media. Never even heard of them until this release, and I looked them up in a couple things. But these companies are finding these older, forgotten TV shows that do still have an active fandom and re-releasing them. And open up how each season set looks. At least one thing that is a plus is that the discs are not all just kind of stacked, because sometimes on these budget releases they are just like that, they're not rubbing. So it is, a decent quality as far as the packaging. Again, the picture, you can see this low resolution images, and some of the artwork and stuff is kind of iffy. If you look at Veronica on the cover of the initial release, this exact same image of her, look at the image quality difference. I mean, it's just, yeah, so obviously not the same thing. And so one of these, knowing that this is out there, and this is a show that I highly suggest you get into, and I know a lot of people have not seen, would I suggest going for this pack or trying to track down the older DVD seasons? And I've done videos before talking about, shows that have had different releases over the years, and just the benefits of each set and what you're losing, because we are in another situation here with a lot of the re-releases. It's a similar deal to Xena and Hercules, the Anchor Bay releases versus the Universal newer releases, where this is better as far as content in every single way compared to this one. And we had the same situation where, like I said, this takes up about as much room on your shelf as only one season. That's a plus in its favor. For $30, you can get the entire thing brand new. Buying these 3 seasons used is going to be $100 plus, depending on what kind of condition they're in. And buying them new, it's going to be a lot more than that. So this is a space saver, it's a huge money saver, and it's readily available from Amazon, brand new, just get it shipped, so it's very accessible, easy to get. So all those things are in its favor, but this is going to be an inferior viewing experience, more extreme than even with things like the Xena Hercules sets that I talked about. The image quality is downgraded significantly between the two pairs. It is immediately noticeable, and that is forgivable for being a budget release, and there are a decent number of episodes per disc, and okay, that's fine the way it is. Going into it, save some money, sacrifice some image quality, but there's another, the problems get a little more significant than that, because not only is there a dip in the quality of the image, there are also a lot of errors throughout this, and there's a sound issue that is worse than the video issue. First off, visually, it looks like whatever they source this from, it looks like a little more of a worn, washed out image compared to the original image releases. So it doesn't have the sharpness and or the depth of color as the older ones. It looks more like if you took a pristine VHS copy, in the 90s versus one that you rented and has been rented 100 times and is kind of worn out. That's the difference between the two visually. Visual errors are, whatever they used for something with compression, or whatever they did with the CGI effects, because most of the effects in the show are very practical, but there are some limited digital effects, most of it being around some of the dinosaurs. And anytime one of those effects is on screen and there's any kind of fast movement, there is a motion blur and almost a stuttering that is in effect that was not in the original version. So it was smooth and looked fine in the original, and we noticed in watching episodes from the set that every single time one of those special effect elements was on screen, there was a visual hiccup. There was every single time consistently. So that was it was very noticeable, and that was a little bit of a disappointment. And the other thing is the sound quality is surprisingly inferior. It sounds like the sound levels were messed with. It's noticeable even in the opening narration. The music is much louder in comparison to the opening narration than in the original versions, to where it's kind of muffled and almost hard to hear. It immediately comes across. And then even throughout the scenes, you can almost tell what was on-set sound and what was ADR, because the sound levels are different. It's really kind of a bizarre thing. It's not extreme, but it's immediately noticeable, and especially if you're familiar with the older versions and or when it originally aired, the dip in sound quality for me was a worse problem than the visual. The visual quality being a little faded, being a little bit lower resolution, okay, it's one thing. The issues with the special effects and the sort of stuttering that goes on, again, it's only when those effects are on screen, and it's not horrible. It's definitely a problem, but again, there are entire episodes where those types of visual effects take up 5% of the screen time or less. So it sucks, but for the price cut, okay. The sound issue for me is a bigger one. It's not like it's unwatchably bad or horrendous, whatever, but there'll be things where the sound levels of different audio tracks in different scenes are just off. It's not like not to an unwatchable level, but it is definitely a bit of an issue. It really brings down the quality of this release. So, I mean, overall, these Image Entertainment, the older releases, blow this out of the water. If you can get your hands on them, 100% I suggest getting them. But if you just want a copy of the series and this entices you as far as being a space saver and $30 to get the whole thing in one go, I mean, I could say even grab that and check it out. And if you really like the series, try and hunt down these original DVD packs, because they are superior in every way. And I'm mixed on this set because very mixed emotions about it. Because one, quality-wise, it's a big disappointment, but I'm also really excited and really happy to have a reprint, a new pressed release in 2022 of this kind of a show, and it brings hope for other shows like this coming down the line. And it's just great to be able to have a second set of this series that we both really, really enjoy, and have a newer printing, and it's just always a good thing to see and have in the collection. Really excited, surprising it existed at all, that it came back out, but it is, I do have to say, it is a kind of a disappointing release in terms of its quality. Even going in, I was expecting it to be a little bit subpar, just because of the experience I've had with other shows like this being re-released. They're never quite as good as the older DVD sets, but this one was more of a downgrade than I was expecting, with those issues with the special effects shots and with the soundtrack issues. So that part is a little disappointing, but overall I still think it's such a good series that it is still a good grab for like $25 to $30. I think you might be able to look around and find it for more like a 25, or depending on shipping, whatever. But for $10 a season, it's still a steal for how great this series is. Just looking over the few presentation issues that this particular set has, and there's no special features at all, which is another thing, but the original ones didn't really have much in terms of special features at all either. So that was to be expected. A lot of the stuff from the fan sites and things, I think, were just lost. There were interviews and all kinds of things, and those were not even on here for these sets. But yeah, this is a fantastic show that, if you're a fan of those types of shows that I had mentioned before, definitely one that you should check out. And these sets, again, everything about them is superior. They're fantastic, and it's a lot of fun. It's a great show. But yeah, if you're just looking for a budget copy to get into the show and see if you like it, go ahead and grab this. If you're willing to spend a little bit more or a little bit of time looking around and you want the best experience, though, go for the older box sets.